Namo, Amitabha Buddha. Dear friends, dear sisters, and brothers listening tonight, have you ever noticed this feeling? You finally lie down. The room is quiet, the lights are off, but inside, something still feels heavy. You are tired, truly tired, yet your mind refuses to rest. Maybe nothing terrible happened today, and still your chest feels tight. Your thoughts keep circling. Bills, health, family, the future. Or sometimes, nothing at all you can name. Many people here in America tell me the same thing. I don't know why I'm so exhausted. I don't know why sleep feels so far away. If that sounds like you tonight, please know this gently. There is nothing wrong with you. The Buddha taught that this kind of weariness does not come from weakness. It comes from a heart that has been carrying too much for too long, often in silence. Tonight, we will not force anything. We will not try to fix your whole life. We will simply sit together and look softly at why the mind cannot rest, and how a very old, very gentle teaching can help the heart finally feel safe enough to let go. If you're ready, let us begin. Slowly, one breath at a time. One breath at a time. And yet, even as the body lies still, the mind keeps traveling. It travels back to something said earlier today, a tone of voice that lingered too long, a message that was never replied to. It travels forward to tomorrow morning, to alarms, responsibilities, appointments, and the quiet fear of not being able to keep up. The body is here resting on the bed, but the mind is everywhere else. Many people living here in America know this feeling deeply. You may have built a stable life on the outside, a job, a home, a family. You may smile during the day, do what needs to be done, carry yourself with strength. But at night, when the world finally goes quiet, something inside begins to ache. The room is dim. Perhaps a small lamp still glows in the corner. Perhaps there is a photo on the nightstand. Parents who are getting older children who are growing so fast, loved ones who are far away, or someone who is no longer here at all. Outside, a car passes. The sound fades. Inside, the thoughts do not. This is the kind of tiredness that sleep alone cannot cure. It is the tiredness of a heart that has been pulled in too many directions for too many years. Some people tell me my body is exhausted, but my mind won't stop. Others say I don't even know what I'm worried about anymore. I just feel restless. In the Buddha's time, people were different, but the human heart was the same. We live far from temples, sometimes far from our roots, far from the quiet rhythms that once held us. Life here moves quickly. time is measured in schedules and deadlines. Worth is often measured by productivity. So the mind learns to run even when the body wants to lie down. There is a gentle teaching in Buddhism that speaks directly to this moment. The Buddha said that suffering does not begin with pain itself. It begins with the mind wandering without a home. When the mind has no place to rest, it clings to the past or grasps at the future. It replays what cannot be changed and worries about what has not yet arrived. This is not because you are weak. It is because you are human. Think of the mind like a child. All day long it is told to behave, to be responsible, to stay alert, to solve problems. When night comes, no one tells the mind, "It's safe now. You can rest." So it keeps wandering, looking for something solid to hold on to. Perhaps you notice this wandering most clearly at night. Your body sinks into the mattress, but the mind floats above it, restless, alert, scanning. You may try to force sleep. You may tell yourself, "I need to sleep." But the more you push, the tighter the chest feels. The Buddha taught that peace does not come from control. It comes from understanding. When we see clearly what the mind is doing, we stop fighting it. And when the fight ends, something inside begins to soften. In Buddhist language, this wandering is called restlessness, not as a flaw, but as a natural state of an unanchored mind. Imagine a small boat on the ocean at night. Without an anchor, it drifts wherever the current takes it. The waves are not the problem. The lack of an anchor is. In the same way, your thoughts are not the enemy. They are waves. What is missing is a place for the mind to gently rest. Many people in the Vietnamese Buddhist community here in the US place a small altar in their home. It does not have to be elaborate. Sometimes it is just a simple image of the Buddha, a cup of water, a single candle. At night, even without lighting incense, just seeing that image can remind the heart there is something steady in this world. You may not have an altar. You may be listening from a small apartment, a shared home, a quiet bedroom after a long shift. That is okay. The Buddha taught that the true altar is the place where the mind becomes still. Tonight, we are not trying to stop thoughts. We are simply noticing how far the mind has traveled and gently inviting it back. Back to the body lying here. Back to the quiet of this moment. Back to the simple fact that right now you are safe enough to rest. As you listen, you might notice the rise and fall of your breath, the weight of the blanket, the steady support beneath you. Nothing else is required. In the teachings, this is called coming home to the present moment. Not as an idea, but as an experience. When the mind begins to touch the present, even briefly, the heart feels a small release, like loosening a tight knot. This release may be subtle, a softening in the shoulders, a longer exhale, a sense that you don't have to hold everything right now. That is enough. The Buddha never asked us to escape life. He only asked us to stop carrying all of it at once. And as the mind begins to settle, another truth quietly appears. This wandering of the mind left unseen is how patterns of suffering repeat. But seen with kindness, it becomes the doorway to something new. And this is where the path gently opens. And as that doorway begins to open, something important becomes clear. It is not that you think too much. It is that the mind has nowhere gentle to rest. You may have been told before, you overthink. Try to relax. Just let it go. But when the lights are off and the world is quiet, those words offer very little comfort. Because deep down, you are not trying to create problems. You are trying to feel safe. When the mind keeps moving, it is often searching for something solid, a sense of control, a guarantee, a place to lean. Without that place, the mind does what it knows how to do. It scans, it reviews, it prepares. You might notice this most clearly in small moments. Lying in bed, you remember a conversation from years ago and feel your jaw tighten. You think about a medical appointment coming up and your breath shortens slightly. You replay a decision you made, wondering if it was the right one. Nothing dramatic is happening in the room. Yet inside, the body reacts as if something urgent is unfolding. In Buddhist teaching, this is not seen as a personal failure. It is simply the mind doing what it has been trained to do in a world that rarely slows down. Here in America, many of us learned early that we must stay alert to survive. We learned to plan ahead, to be responsible, to think things through. These qualities helped us build a life, but no one taught us how to turn them off. So even when the body lies down, the mind remains on duty. The Buddha spoke of this gently. He said that the mind left without a refuge will cling to thoughts the way tired hands cling to a railing, not because the railing is the answer, but because the hands are afraid to let go. In Buddhist language, this refuge is called a place of Nung Tua, a place where the heart feels supported. Without it, the mind leans on worries. It leans on memories. It leans on imagined futures. And slowly, this leaning becomes a habit. You may feel it as a constant background tension, a sense that you are never quite done, never quite at ease. Some people describe it as a low hum of anxiety. Others feel it as pressure in the chest or a heaviness behind the eyes. One evening, a woman named Linda shared with me how this felt for her. She lived alone in a small apartment. Her children were grown and busy with their own lives. During the day, she kept herself occupied. But at night, the silence felt loud. "I'm not afraid of anything in particular," she said softly. "But when I lie down, it feels like something is missing." As she spoke, her hands rested tightly together in her lap. Her shoulders were slightly raised as if bracing against an unseen weight. This is the moment the Buddha was pointing toward. The mind is not restless because it is broken. It is restless because it is looking for a home. The Buddha taught that true refuge is not found in constant thinking, or in perfect plans, or even in external success. Those things shift and change. He taught that refuge is found when the mind learns to rest in awareness itself. This does not mean stopping thoughts. It means no longer being carried away by them. Imagine sitting near a quiet lake at dusk. The surface of the water reflects the sky. When a breeze passes, ripples appear. But the lake does not chase the ripples. It simply holds them. In the same way, the Buddha taught us to become the place that holds thoughts, rather than the place that follows them. When the mind has this kind of refuge thinking, naturally slows. The body softens. The breath deepens. This is not something to force. It is something to allow. In many Buddhist homes, people light a candle in the evening, not to ask for anything, simply to mark a transition. The flame is small, steady, unrushed. Watching it for a moment, the mind begins to mirror that steadiness. Even if you have no candle tonight, you may imagine one. A single flame quietly burning, asking nothing of you. The Buddha taught that when the mind rests on something wholesome and steady, it begins to trust. And when the mind trusts, it no longer needs to run. This is why practices like mindfulness and chanting exist. Not as rituals to perform perfectly, but as places for the mind to lean. A refuge. Without this refuge, the mind keeps circling the same questions. What if something goes wrong? What if I fail? What if I lose what I love? With refuge, those questions lose their grip. They may still appear, but they no longer command the whole night. You might notice this change subtly. A sigh that comes without effort. A warmth spreading across the chest. A sense that the bed is holding you more fully. This is the beginning of rest. The Buddha never blamed the wandering mind. He simply offered it a place to return. And when the mind has a place to return, something else becomes visible. We begin to see how our habits of thought, when left unseen, quietly shape our lives. This is not said to frighten you. It is said to empower you. Because what is seen can be softened, and what is softened can be changed. The mind does not need to be silenced. It needs to be supported. And as that support gently appears, the restless movement of thought begins to slow on its own. From here, the teaching goes even deeper into how these restless patterns become the very forces that shape our suffering and our peace. And this is where understanding truly begins. And as that restlessness begins to slow, another understanding quietly rises to the surface. These sleepless nights did not appear by accident. They did not come out of nowhere, and they are not a sign that something is wrong with you. They are the result of patterns that form gently, slowly, often, without being noticed. Late at night, when the house is still, you may hear small sounds you usually ignore. The hum of the refrigerator, the soft ticking of a clock, a distant siren fading into the night. These sounds remind us of something important. Life keeps moving, even when we want it to stop. Inside, the mind does the same. The Buddha taught that what we experience now is shaped by what we have been repeating moment after moment, day after day. In simple words, he called this karma. Karma is not punishment. It is not fate written in stone. It is habit. It is the way the mind reacts again and again to the same feelings, the same fears, the same desires. Think of a path in a field. The first time someone walks across it, the grass bends only slightly. But when many feet follow the same route day after day, the ground becomes worn. The path becomes clear. Our minds work the same way. Each time worry appears and we follow it, the path grows deeper. Each time fear arises and we tighten around it, the habit strengthens. Eventually, the mind walks that path without asking permission. This is why, when night comes, the same thoughts return. The same concerns line up, waiting their turn. You may notice how quickly it happens. The head touches the pillow, and suddenly, the mind is already moving. A doctor's appointment, child's future, money that needs to stretch further, a body that doesn't feel as strong as it once did. Nothing new is happening, but the mind reacts as if it all needs to be solved right now. This is karma at work, not as destiny, but as momentum. One man named David once described it to me like this: "I don't even choose the thoughts anymore," he said. "They just show up." As he spoke, his eyes stayed fixed on the floor. His foot tapped lightly over and over, even though he had been sitting for a long time. This tapping was also karma, the body remembering what the mind repeats. The Buddha taught that karma is created first in the mind, then in speech, then in action. A thought arises. We believe it. We react. Over time, this chain becomes familiar, almost comforting in its predictability, even when it causes pain. This is why sleeplessness often feels so stubborn. We are not just dealing with tonight's thoughts. We are meeting years of habit. But here is the gentle truth that brings great relief. If karma is habit, then karma can change. The Buddha never taught that we are trapped. He taught that awareness is the turning point. The moment we see a habit clearly, without judging it, its power begins to loosen. Imagine holding a knot in your hands. If you pull too hard, it tightens. But if you look closely, patiently, you begin to see where it can be undone. This is how the Buddha approached suffering. With patience, with understanding. In many Buddhist stories, awakening does not come as lightning or thunder. It comes as a quiet seeing. A monk hearing the sound of a bell and realizing how often his mind wandered. A woman watching a lotus open at dawn and understanding impermanence without words. Here, in our own lives, the sleepless night can become such a bell. Not a punishment, but a signal. It is the mind saying, something has been carried too long. In Vietnamese culture, elders often say, the body remembers what the mouth does not say. The mind remembers too. Every time we push ourselves past exhaustion, every time we silence our own needs, every time we carry worry alone, the mind stores that energy. At night, when there is nothing left to distract us, it begins to release. This release can feel overwhelming at first. Thoughts pour out, emotions surface. But the Buddha taught that this surfacing is not a problem. It is an opportunity. When karma comes into awareness, it becomes workable. This is where compassion must enter. Not the kind we offer to others, but the kind we offer to ourselves. Instead of saying, "Why am I like this?" we learn to say, "This is what I have been carrying." This shift is subtle, but powerful. The chest softens slightly. The breath deepens a little. The body no longer feels under attack. The Buddha called this understanding right view, seeing clearly without blame. From this place, change becomes possible, not overnight, not by force, but gently, one moment at a time. The sleepless nights are not random. They are messages written in the language of habit. And just as habits were formed, they can be transformed. This transformation does not begin with effort. It begins with offering the mind a new direction, a new place to rest. When the mind is given something wholesome to return to, the old paths slowly lose their grip. This is not magic. It is cause and effect working in your favor. The Buddha did not promise a life without difficulty. He promised a path where suffering no longer controls the heart. And the first step on that path is seeing clearly why the nights have been so restless and knowing deeply that this restlessness is not permanent. From here, we begin to learn how to gently guide the mind toward a different habit, one rooted in steadiness, trust, and peace. And this is where the practice truly begins. And as that understanding settles and something gentle begins to happen, when the mind is no longer blamed, when its habits are seen with kindness, it naturally looks for a place to rest. This is when the waves begin to soften. Imagine standing by the ocean at night. The water still moves, but the surface is no longer wild. Moonlight touches the ripples, and the sound of the waves becomes steady, almost soothing. The Buddha taught that the mind works the same way. It does not calm down because we demand it to. It calms down when it has something steady to hold. In Buddhist teaching, this steadiness is called an anchor, a place of refuge, a chonung for the heart. Without this anchor, the mind keeps drifting from thought to thought. With it, even difficult thoughts lose their force. Many people misunderstand practices like chanting or mindfulness. They think the purpose is to erase thinking, but the Buddha never asked us to empty the mind. He asked us to give the mind something wholesome, something kind, something steady enough that it no longer needs to grasp at fear. This is where the name of the Buddha becomes important. In many Vietnamese Buddhist homes in America, you may see a small image of Amitabha Buddha. Sometimes it rests quietly on a shelf, sometimes near a window where sunlight touches it in the morning. The face is calm, the eyes are soft, the hands rest open as if saying, "You may come as you are." For generations, people have turned to this image not to escape life, but to remember peace. When someone quietly recites Namo Amitabha Buddha, something subtle shifts. The lips move gently. The breath slows. The chest rises and falls more evenly. Nothing dramatic happens, and yet everything begins to change. The Buddha taught that the mind can only follow one thing at a time. If it is holding fear, it cannot hold calm. If it is holding calm, fear loosens its grip. This is not philosophy. It is experience. A man named Michael once shared this with me. He had spent years working night shifts. His sleep was shallow. His thoughts were sharp and relentless. One evening, he sat alone in his living room. The television was off. The house felt unusually quiet. On a small shelf, he noticed an old image of the Buddha his mother had given him long ago. He had never paid much attention to it. That night, he simply sat and whispered the name once, then again. He did not know the rhythm. He did not know the rules. But as the words repeated softly, his shoulders dropped, his jaw unclenched. The room seemed to breathe with him. Later, he said, "It felt like my mind finally had somewhere to sit." This is what the Buddha meant. When the mind has a place to sit, it no longer paces the room. Chanting prayer and mindfulness are not about belief alone. They are about training attention. The mind is like a restless guest. If you give it nothing, it will wander everywhere. If you offer it a simple chair, it will sit down. In Buddhist teaching, this chair is called right mindfulness. It means gently returning the mind to something present and kind. The sound of a name, the feeling of the breath, the warmth of the heart. As the mind returns again and again, a new habit begins to form. Instead of running toward worry, the mind learns to return to steadiness. Instead of tightening around fear, the body learns to soften. This is how karma begins to change. Not through struggle, but through repetition, rooted in kindness. In many temples here in the U.S., the evening chant is slow, measured, almost like a lullaby. Voices rise together, then fade. Between each sound, there is space. That space is important. It teaches the mind that silence is not dangerous. That stillness does not mean something is wrong. For many of us, silence once meant loneliness. It meant unresolved thoughts. It meant facing what we had avoided. But when silence is held within a practice, it becomes different. It becomes shelter. You may notice this even now. As you listen, there may be small pauses between the words. In those pauses, nothing bad happens. The breath continues. The body remains supported. The Buddha taught that this experience, resting without fear, is the foundation of peace. When the mind feels supported, it no longer needs to grip tightly. The waves do not disappear. They simply settle into a natural rhythm. Thoughts may still arise. Memories may still surface, but they no longer feel overwhelming. They pass like clouds instead of storms. This is why the Buddha encouraged people to return again and again to a simple object of focus. Not to escape life, but to meet life with steadiness. When the heart has a refuge, sleep comes more easily, not because all problems are solved, but because the mind no longer believes it must solve everything tonight. The body senses this shift immediately. The breath deepens. The muscles soften. The nervous system receives a quiet message. It's okay to rest. This is not something you have to earn. It is something you allow. The Buddha never said peace was far away. He said it was covered by agitation. When agitation is given a place to rest, peace reveals itself naturally. And once the mind tastes this kind of rest, even briefly, it remembers. It begins to trust. From this trust, a new way of living quietly unfolds, one where the heart no longer fights the night, and the night no longer feels like an enemy. This is the power of giving the mind a place to lean. And soon we will learn how to make this refuge something you can return to night after night with ease and confidence. For now, let the waves continue to soften. And as the waves continue to soften, a quiet invitation appears. Nothing complicated, nothing demanding, just 5 minutes. 5 minutes where you do not have to be good at anything. 5 minutes where nothing needs to be perfect. The Buddha never asked for perfection. He asked for sincerity. So tonight, we keep this simple. Wherever you are listening, from a small apartment, a shared home, a bedroom, after a long shift, allow the body to settle in the most natural way. You may lie on your back or on your side. Let the hands rest where they fall, one perhaps on the chest, the other on the belly. Notice how the weight of the body is already being held. The bed does not ask you to do more. The floor does not demand effort. This is already a teaching. The Buddha taught that when the body feels supported, the mind begins to trust. Take a slow breath in through the nose, not deep, not forced, just easy, and let it out gently, as if you were fogging a mirror. You may feel the shoulders drop a fraction of an inch, the jaw soften, the tongue rest quietly in the mouth. If thoughts appear, that is perfectly okay. We are not here to chase them away. Now bring your attention to something steady, something kind. For many people, this is where the name of the Buddha becomes a companion. Silently or softly begin to repeat Namo, Amitabha Buddha. There is no rush, no rhythm you must follow. Let the words float gently on the breath. On the inhale, Namo. On the exhale, Amitabha Buddha. Or simply let the full phrase move at its own pace. If your mind wanders, notice how it wanders without scolding it. Then, with the same gentleness, you would offer a child, guide it back to the sound of the name. This returning is the practice. In Buddhist teaching, this is called right effort. Not forcing, not resisting, but returning again and again with kindness. You may notice something subtle happening. The breath becomes quieter. The space between thoughts grows slightly wider. The body feels warmer, as if a small light has been turned on inside the chest. Nothing dramatic, just enough. Some nights, the mind will stay close. Other nights, it will wander many times. Both are fine. The Buddha taught that progress is not measured by how still the mind becomes, but by how gently we return. Imagine walking a familiar path at dusk. You may step off the trail occasionally, but each time you notice, you simply step back on. No frustration, no judgment, just returning. If at any moment the words feel heavy, you may rest your attention on the breath alone. Feel the rise of the belly, the fall, or notice the warmth of your hand resting on your chest. This warmth is real. This presence is real. You are not imagining it. In many temples here in the United States, elderly practitioners sit quietly during evening chanting. Their voices are soft, sometimes shaky, yet their faces carry a gentle glow. They are not trying to achieve anything. They are simply resting the mind in something trustworthy. That trust is what heals. You may feel emotions arise during these few minutes. A wave of sadness, a sense of longing, a quiet gratitude. Let them be. In Buddhist practice, nothing is pushed away. Nothing is clung to. Everything is allowed to pass through awareness, like clouds crossing a wide sky. If tears come, let them come. They are not a setback. They are a release. The Buddha taught that when the heart softens, old tension leaves the body. This is part of the path. Now, gently return again to the sound of the name. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Each repetition is not a request. It is a reminder that you are not alone, that countless people before you have sat in this same place, tired, searching, hopeful, and they too learn to rest. As these 5 minutes unfold, notice that you are not trying to fall asleep. You are simply allowing the body to remember how to rest. Sleep comes naturally when the struggle ends. If the mind says, "Am I doing this right?" smile inwardly. There is no right way. The Buddha taught that sincerity is enough. Even one honest breath is enough. Even one gentle return is enough. As you continue, you may sense a quiet shift. The chest feels less tight. The space behind the eyes softens. The body feels heavier in a comforting way. This heaviness is not fatigue. It is grounding. It is the body recognizing safety. If at any point you drift off, that is perfectly fine. The practice will continue in the background like a lullaby. And if you remain awake, that is fine too. You are learning something deeper than sleep. You are learning how to be with yourself without pressure. The Buddha never asked for long hours. He asked for consistency rooted in kindness. 5 minutes is enough to begin changing a habit that has been running for years. Not through force, through trust. As these few minutes draw to a close, allow the repetition to fade naturally. Do not stop it abruptly. Let it dissolve into silence, the way a bell's echo fades into the air. Notice the silence that remains. It is not empty. It is full of support. Rest there. Nothing more is needed. Just this moment. And as the repetition gently fades into silence, something remains. It is not empty. It is a softness. The breath moves without effort now. The chest rises and falls more evenly. The muscles around the eyes loosen as if they have finally been given permission to rest. This is how change begins. Not with fireworks, not with dramatic promises, but with a subtle shift inside the heart. The Buddha taught that when the mind softens, the world does not suddenly become perfect, but our relationship with it begins to change. You may notice this the next morning. Light filters through the window. The same responsibilities are waiting. The same life is still here. And yet something feels different. The coffee tastes a little warmer. The body moves a little slower, but with less resistance. A difficult thought may still arise, but it does not immediately tighten the stomach. It passes through more gently, like a breeze instead of a storm. This is not coincidence. In Buddhist teaching, this gentle change is called the fruit of wholesome states of mind. When the mind is harsh, the world feels harsh. When the mind softens, the world responds differently. Not because the world has changed, but because the lens through which we see it has shifted. Think of a clenched fist. When the hand is tight, everything it touches feels hard. When the hand opens, even the same object feels different. This opening is what people often call Phúc merit or blessing. But Phúc is not something mysterious. It is not a reward handed down from above. Phúc is the natural result of a heart that has stopped fighting itself. When the mind is less tense, words come out more gently. Decisions are made with a little more clarity. Reactions slow down. Small moments begin to change the direction of larger ones. A woman named Susan once shared how she noticed this shift. For years, she had lived with a constant sense of urgency. Even rest felt unproductive. After beginning a simple evening practice, she noticed that one afternoon when her son spoke sharply to her, her first response was different. Her shoulders did not rise. Her voice did not harden. She paused, took a breath, and answered calmly. Later, she said, I realized the practice didn't just help me sleep. It changed how I showed up. This is how karma transforms, not through sudden miracles, but through softened moments. The Buddha taught that karma is intention, not only what we do, but the state of mind we bring into each moment. When the mind is tight, even good actions carry strain. When the mind is open, even ordinary actions carry peace. This is why the practice of calming the mind is not separate from daily life. It shapes how we speak to family, how we care for our bodies, how we treat strangers. In many Buddhist communities across the United States, elders often say, when the heart is calm, the home is calm. You may have seen this yourself. A grandmother moving slowly through the kitchen, her steps unhurried, her presence filling the room more than her words. A grandfather sitting quietly in the early morning, hands, folded eyes resting on nothing in particular, yet the atmosphere around him feels steady. These people did not escape hardship. They learned how to carry it without hardening. This is the kind of change the Buddha pointed toward. When the heart softens, we stop creating new layers of suffering. We still experience pain, but we do not add resistance to it. We still face challenges, but we meet them with more space. Over time, this space accumulates. In Buddhist teaching, every wholesome moment leaves a trace. A gentle word, a patient breath, a decision made from calm instead of fear. These traces build a new path. At first, it may feel unfamiliar. The mind may even resist it. It may whisper, if I relax, things will fall apart. But the Buddha taught the opposite. When the mind relaxes wisely, it sees more clearly. Clarity leads to better choices. Better choices lead to less regret. Less regret leads to deeper rest. This is cause and effect working quietly in your favor. You may notice that problems still appear, but they no longer arrive all at once. You handle one thing, then rest. One conversation, then a breath. One task, then stillness. This rhythm is healing. It is also deeply practical. Here in America, life often rewards speed and pressure, but the body and heart do not thrive under constant urgency. The Buddha's path offers something different. Not withdrawal, but balance. Not passivity, but steadiness. As the heart softens, even sleep changes. Sleep becomes deeper, not because you force it, but because the nervous system feels safe. You may wake up during the night, but instead of panic, there is a quiet familiarity. You know how to return. A few breaths, a gentle phrase, a sense of being held. This knowing is powerful. It means that peace is no longer dependent on everything going right. It lives inside your response. The Buddha taught that this inner stability is the greatest wealth. Money can be lost, health can change, relationships evolve, but a trained heart remains a refuge. And from this refuge, life unfolds differently. Opportunities appear where tension once blocked them. Kindness arises more naturally. Gratitude sneaks in without effort. You may notice yourself pausing before reacting, listening more deeply, forgiving more easily, including forgiving yourself. These are not small things. They shape the direction of a life. When the heart softens, karma begins to turn in a new direction. Not because the past disappears, but because the present is handled differently. This is the Buddha's promise, not that suffering will vanish, but that it will no longer rule the heart. As you rest now, allow this understanding to settle gently. You do not need to rush the change. You do not need to measure progress. Each moment of softness is already a step on the path. And as these moments accumulate, you may find life itself begins to meet you with a different face. One that feels a little kinder, a little quieter, a little more forgiving. This is how peace grows, not all at once, but steadily from the inside out. And as the heart continues to soften, there is one more gentle movement to learn how to let this calm extend beyond yourself, touching others, and opening the door to even deeper freedom. We will arrive there, slowly together. And as the heart continues to soften, a quiet shift takes place. The circle of concern widens. For a long time, the mind may have been focused on survival, on getting through the day, on holding things together, on protecting what feels fragile. This focus is natural. It is how we endure. But when the heart finally rests even a little, it begins to look beyond itself. You might notice it as a gentle thought that arises without effort. A parent who comes to mind. A child sleeping in another room. A friend you haven't called in a while. Someone who is struggling quietly, just as you were. The breath moves. The chest feels warm. And for a moment, the tight boundary around me loosens. In Buddhism, this moment is very important. The Buddha taught that suffering tightens the heart around the self. Relief opens it. And when the heart opens, a new kind of peace becomes possible. In many Vietnamese families here in America, there is a simple gesture that reflects this truth. After finishing a prayer or a chant, people pause, place their palms together, and quietly offer the goodness outward. Not loudly, not dramatically, just sincerely. This is called dedication or hoi hung. To some, it may seem symbolic, but the Buddha understood something very deep about the human mind. When we stop thinking only about ourselves, the nervous system relaxes. The sense of isolation softens. The heart remembers that it belongs. This belonging is not abstract, it is felt. Imagine holding a warm cup in both hands. The heat spreads slowly into the palms, then into the arms. Now, imagine offering that warmth outward to someone you love, to someone who is suffering, even to someone you have never met. The warmth does not leave you, it grows. This is how the Buddha described wholesome intention. It does not divide, it multiplies. A woman named Margaret once shared an experience like this. She had been caring for her elderly mother for years. The nights were especially hard. One evening, after a simple period of chanting, she felt an unexpected urge to include her mother in the prayer. Not to ask for anything specific, just to wish her peace. As she did, her face softened, her shoulders dropped, her breath slowed. Later, she said, "For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel alone in my responsibility." This is the quiet power of dedication. The Buddha taught that intention shapes experience. When intention is narrow, the heart feels small and burdened. When intention widens, the heart feels supported. This is not about ignoring your own pain. It is about letting your pain be held within something larger. In Buddhist teaching, this is how merit phuk is shared. Merit is not a score. It is not something that runs out. It is the natural energy that arises when the mind acts with kindness and clarity. When you dedicate this energy, you are training the mind to release its grip on me. And when the grip loosens, suffering loosens too. This is why many people find that after a moment of dedication, the body feels lighter, the chest opens, the breath deepens, sleep comes more easily, not because worries disappeared, but because the heart is no longer carrying them alone. Here in America, many Buddhist temples hold ceremonies for ancestors. Names are read softly, candles flicker, flowers rest quietly on the altar. For those who attend, there is often a sense of calm that follows. Not sadness, but connection. The Buddha taught that remembering others with kindness connects us to something timeless. You may not attend a temple. You may be listening alone. Still, this practice is available to you. Tonight, you might gently include your parents, whether they are near or far. You might think of grandparents who endured much so you could be here. You might include children, family members, friends, or even people you have never met who are struggling with restlessness and fear. As you do notice the body, the face softens, the jaw releases, the breath lengthens. This is not imagination. This is physiology responding to compassion. The Buddha understood that the heart heals when it is no longer isolated. Even difficult emotions respond to this widening. Grief becomes less sharp. Anxiety becomes less constricting. Loneliness becomes less absolute. Because the mind remembers, I am part of something larger. This remembering is especially powerful at night. Night can make worries feel personal and overwhelming. Dedication reminds us that suffering is shared, and so is peace. In Buddhist teaching, this is sometimes called boundless heart, not boundless effort, not boundless obligation, just boundless goodwill. You may notice that after offering this goodwill, there is a quiet stillness. Thoughts slow. The body settles. Sleep approaches gently, like a guest who no longer feels unwelcome. The Buddha never asked us to carry the world. He asked us to stop carrying it alone. When you extend kindness outward, you do not lose yourself. You find support. This is why dedication is often practiced near the end of meditation. It seals the practice like a soft closing of the day. As you rest now, you may allow a simple phrase to form in the heart. May they be at ease. May they be safe. May they rest. You do not have to list names. You do not have to force emotion. Just let the intention be sincere. Then notice what remains: a quiet warmth, a sense of connection, a feeling that the night is not empty. This is the heart learning a new way to be, a way that does not contract around fear, but opens toward trust. From this opening, peace deepens naturally. And soon the body will respond in the most natural way by letting go into sleep. For now, rest in this widened heart. Nothing more needs to be done. And as that widened heart settles into a gentle warmth, something important becomes clear. You do not need to force yourself to sleep. The room is quiet now. Perhaps the light from the street slips softly through the curtains. Perhaps the house has settled into its nighttime sounds, the faint hum of the heater, the distant rush of a car passing far away. Your body is here, held, supported, and yet there may still be a small tension somewhere, a thought that whispers, I should be asleep by now. This whisper is familiar to many people, especially those who carry responsibility, those who wake early, those who worry about tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. The Buddha taught that suffering often grows from wanting things to be different than they are. Even something as natural as sleep can turn into a struggle when we demand it. Notice what happens when you tell yourself, "I must sleep." The chest tightens slightly, the breath shortens, the body feels watched, evaluated. Sleep, which comes naturally, senses this pressure and steps back. The Buddha did not teach us to control the body. He taught us to understand it. The body knows how to sleep. It has done so for many years without instruction. What interrupts this knowing is not wakefulness but tension. A man named Robert once described this gently. He said, "The harder I tried to sleep, the more awake I felt." One night, after learning a simple practice, he decided to stop trying. He lay still, listening to his breath, feeling the weight of his body sink into the mattress. He told himself, "Even if I don't sleep, I will rest." Something shifted then. His forehead softened. His eyes no longer strained behind closed lids. His breath slowed on its own. Sleep came quietly, without announcement. This is the wisdom the Buddha pointed toward. Rest is not the same as sleep. Rest is the doorway to sleep. When the body feels safe enough to rest, sleep follows naturally. In Buddhist teaching, this safety is created through acceptance. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means stopping the fight. Tonight, you are allowed to be exactly as you are, awake or drifting, clear or foggy. There is nothing to fix. Notice how the body responds when it hears this permission. The shoulders drop a little, the belly softens, the breath deepens without effort. This is not imagination. It is the nervous system responding to kindness. The Buddha understood the body deeply. He knew that force creates resistance, and resistance creates suffering. So he taught gentleness. Gentleness with the breath. Gentleness with the mind. Gentleness with the body. If you wake in the middle of the night, the same teaching applies. You do not need to check the clock. You do not need to calculate how many hours remain. Simply notice the feeling of lying here, the warmth of the blanket, the steady support beneath you. If thoughts arise, let them pass like cars on a distant road. You do not need to follow them. You are not required to solve anything at this hour. In many Buddhist communities, elders remind us that night is for releasing, not planning. What cannot be resolved during the day does not need to be carried into the dark. You may imagine placing your worries gently aside. Not forever, just for now. Like setting a bag down by the door, knowing you can pick it up again if needed. The Buddha taught that clinging tightens the mind. Letting go, even briefly, softens it. Softness invites sleep. If you find yourself awake, you may return to a gentle phrase. It's okay to rest. I am safe enough right now. There is nothing I need to do. Let these words fall into the body, not as instructions, but as reassurance. You may notice the eyelids grow heavier, the space behind the eyes soften, the breath slow into a quiet rhythm. If sleep comes, welcome it. If it does not rest in the calm you have created, both are healing. The Buddha never measured practice by outcomes. He measured it by intention. The intention to be kind to yourself is already enough. Here in America, many people are taught to push through fatigue, to override the body's signals, to perform even when depleted. But the Buddha taught a different path, a path of listening. When the body says it is tired, we listen. When the mind says it is overwhelmed, we respond with care. This listening changes everything. Over time, the body learns that it no longer needs to stay alert at night. The mind learns that it does not have to guard every thought. Trust returns, and trust is the foundation of deep sleep. You may find that tonight is not perfect. That is okay. You may find that sleep comes in waves. That is okay too. Nothing has gone wrong. You are learning how to relate differently to the night. Instead of seeing wakefulness as a problem, you see it as a moment of rest. Instead of demanding sleep, you invite it. The Buddha taught that when conditions are right, results follow naturally. You are creating those conditions now with gentleness, with patience, with understanding. As you lie here, allow the body to sink a little deeper. Allow the breath to slow just a bit more. There is nowhere to go, nothing to accomplish. Tonight, resting is enough. And whether sleep arrives quickly or slowly, know this: you have already given yourself something very valuable. You have given yourself peace. From this peace, sleep will come when it is ready. Until then, rest here, held, supported, at ease. And resting in that ease, a simple truth begins to shine through. You do not need to solve your whole life tonight. The mind often believes that peace will come only after everything is figured out, after every decision is made, after every loose end is tied. But as you lie here with the room quiet and the body supported, you may notice how heavy that belief feels, guys. The shoulders tense when the mind says, I need answers. The breath shortens when it says, I need a plan. This is not because you are incapable. It is because the mind has taken on too much at once. The Buddha taught that suffering grows when we try to carry the entire mountain instead of taking one step. Life is not meant to be solved in a single night. It unfolds one moment at a time. You may notice how often the mind jumps ahead. It imagines conversations that have not happened. It prepares for outcomes that are still uncertain. It tries to protect you by thinking faster and harder. But protection turns into pressure when the heart never rests. The Buddha offered a gentler way. He taught that wisdom does not come from solving everything, but from seeing clearly what belongs to this moment and what does not. Tonight belongs to rest. Tomorrow will take care of tomorrow. Think of how the body heals. A small cut does not demand a full cabal explanation. It closes gradually, cell by cell, given time and care. The heart works the same way. A man named Thomas once shared something that stayed with me. He was facing many changes at once. Work uncertainty, family responsibilities, his own health concerns. At night, his mind would line everything up as if demanding a verdict. One evening, exhausted, he whispered to himself, "I don't need to fix everything. I just need to get through tonight." As he said this, his breath deepened. His hands, which had been clenched under the blanket, slowly opened. That night, he slept. Not because the problems disappeared, but because he stopped asking the night to do the work of an entire lifetime. The Buddha taught something very similar. He said that when the mind stays in the present, it gains strength. When it runs too far ahead, it becomes fragile. Strength is built by attending to what is here, this breath, this body, this quiet moment, not the imagined future. Here in America, many people grow up believing that life must be managed aggressively, that if we don't stay ahead, we will fall behind. But the Buddha taught that balance is wiser than control. He taught that effort without rest leads to burnout, not liberation. So tonight, you are invited to set something down. Not everything. Just one thing. Perhaps you set down the need to decide. Perhaps you set down the need to worry. Perhaps you set down the belief that you must understand your whole path right now. Notice how the body responds. The jaw releases. The brow smooths. The breath lengthens. This response is not accidental. It is the body recognizing relief. In Buddhist teaching, this is called right timing, doing the right thing at the right moment. Nighttime is not for solving, it is for restoring. When restoration happens, clarity often follows naturally. You may have noticed this before. A solution appears in the morning that felt impossible the night before. The Buddha understood this rhythm. He taught that wisdom ripens when the mind is nourished. Rest is nourishment. You might imagine placing your concerns on a small table beside the bed. They are not being abandoned. They are simply waiting. You can return to them when the sun is up and the body is rested. For now, they do not need your attention. This is not avoidance. It is trust. Trust that life unfolds step by step. Trust that you do not have to carry everything at once. The Buddha often spoke of the middle way. Not indulgence, not denial, balance. Applying this to life means knowing when to act and when to pause. Tonight is a pause. You may find comfort in a simple reminder. One step is enough. Tomorrow, one kind word, one clear decision, one small action. That is how lives change. Not through sudden answers, but through steady care. You may notice that as you release the need to solve everything, the mind becomes quieter. Thoughts still arise, but they feel less urgent, less demanding. They wait their turn. The Buddha taught that urgency is often a sign that the mind has lost its sense of timing. By returning to the present, we regain it. As you rest now, you may silently offer yourself permission. Permission to not know. Permission to rest. Permission to be unfinished. There is great freedom in this. You do not need to have your life figured out to be worthy of peace. Peace is not a reward for completion. It is a support for the journey. Feel how this understanding settles into the body, like a warm blanket being pulled gently higher, like a sigh released without effort. Nothing else is required. The Buddha never asked us to become someone else. He asked us to be present with who we are, one moment at a time. And in doing so, he promised that the path would reveal itself naturally. As you lie here, let the night do what it does best. Let it hold you without asking for answers. Tomorrow will come. Life will continue. But tonight, you are allowed to rest without carrying the weight of everything. And that is more than enough. And resting in that understanding, something very tender begins to unfold. There is a natural movement of the heart that wants to share what it has received. Not out of obligation, not out of duty, but because peace, when it appears, does not like to stay contained. You may notice this feeling now, a quiet warmth in the chest, a softness behind the eyes, a sense that the night is holding you gently. This is a good moment. In Buddhist teaching, moments like this are precious, not because they are rare, but because they are easily overlooked. The Buddha taught that when the heart touches peace, even briefly, it is beneficial to let that peace flow outward. This is not a ritual meant to impress anyone. It is a natural gesture of the heart, like a candle lighting another candle without losing its own flame. As you lie here, you may imagine this calm as a gentle light, not bright, not overwhelming, just steady. See it resting quietly in your chest, rising and falling with the breath. With each exhale, let that light extend a little further. First toward yourself. May I be at ease. May my body rest. May my heart be light. Notice how the body responds when it hears these words spoken inwardly. The brow smooths, the jaw loosens, the breath settles even deeper. Now, without effort, let that same light move beyond you. You might think of someone close to your heart, a parent whose body is aging, a child navigating a complicated world, a partner, a sibling, a friend. You do not need to visualize clearly. A simple sense is enough. May you be safe. May you be at peace. May you rest tonight. As these intentions form, notice what happens inside. The heart does not tighten, it opens. This opening is important. The Buddha taught that the heart grows lighter when it stops circling only around itself. This is not self-neglect, it is balance. In many Buddhist traditions, this moment is called dedication or offering. What is offered is not something material. It is the wholesome state of mind itself. Calm, kindness, clarity. These qualities are not diminished when shared, they deepen. You may feel this now as a gentle expansion in the chest, as if the breath has more room. From here, you may allow this peace to travel even further. To people you do not know personally, to those lying awake tonight, just as you were earlier. People in hospitals, people working late shifts, people grieving quietly. You do not need to carry their pain. Simply wish them well. May you be free from fear. May your mind find rest. May you feel supported. The Buddha understood something profound about this practice. When the heart holds goodwill, it cannot hold resentment at the same time. When the heart opens, old tensions loosen their grip. This is why dedication often brings a deep sense of relief. It reminds the mind that it is part of a larger human family. Here in America, life can sometimes feel fragmented. People live far apart. Families are spread across cities, states, even continents. At night, this distance can feel especially heavy. But this simple act of extending peace quietly bridges that distance. You may think of ancestors who walked difficult paths before you, people whose sacrifices made your life possible. You may not know all their stories. You do not need to. Simply acknowledge them with gratitude. Thank you for what you carried. May you be at rest. In many Vietnamese Buddhist households, this remembrance is part of daily life. Names are spoken softly, candles flicker, incense curls upward and disappears into the air. Even here, without incense or altar, the essence of that practice is present. It lives in intention. The Buddha taught that intention is powerful. It shapes the direction of the mind. When intention is kind, the mind settles. When the mind settles, the body follows. You may feel this settling now. The breath moves slowly. The limbs feel heavier in a comforting way. The sense of urgency fades. This is not something you forced. It happened because the heart turned outward. In Buddhist teaching, this outward turning is a sign of freedom. Freedom from being trapped inside one small circle of worry. Freedom from feeling alone. The Buddha said that a heart that wishes well for others rests more easily than a heart consumed by fear. This is not poetry. It is practical wisdom. Many people notice that after a moment of dedication, sleep comes more naturally. Not because the mind is distracted, but because it is fulfilled. Fulfilled by connection. You may notice that thoughts grow quieter now. They no longer demand attention. They drift through like distant clouds. If an image arises, perhaps a lotus opening on still water, or the soft echo of a temple bell, let it be there. These images are reminders of calm, nothing more. There is no need to analyze them. Simply rest. As this practice comes to a gentle close, allow the words to fade. Do not rush to end them. Let them dissolve naturally into silence. Notice the silence. It is not empty. It is spacious. In this space, nothing is required of you. You have done enough for tonight. The Buddha taught that when wholesome actions are complete, they should be released. Clinging even to peace can create tension. So now, let go. Let the body sink deeper. Let the breath find its own rhythm. Trust that what has been cultivated will continue quietly on its own. You do not need to hold it. Peace knows how to stay. As you rest here, you may feel a quiet sense of gratitude. Not excitement, just a calm appreciation. This gratitude is a natural sign that the heart has touched something real. And as the night continues, this gentle peace will do what it does best. It will carry you softly into rest, into sleep, into renewal. For now, there is nothing more to send, nothing more to say. just this quiet presence, just this ease. May this peace travel far, and may it return to you again and again whenever you need it most. And as this quiet presence settles around you, a simple question rises on its own. If tonight feels lighter, even by a small measure, what made that possible? Not effort, not force, not solving anything. Just a willingness to pause, to listen, to offer the heart a place to rest. The Buddha taught that freedom does not arrive all at once. It arrives in moments like these moments when we stop adding weight to what we already carry. If your breath feels a little deeper now, if the muscles around your eyes have softened, if the mind no longer feels like it has to stand guard, then something meaningful has already happened. You did not fix your life. You did not reach the end of the path. You simply stepped out of the storm for a moment. And that is enough. Many people believe that peace must be earned, that it comes only after success, after healing, after everything is in order. But the Buddha taught the opposite. He taught that peace is the condition that allows healing to happen. That calm is not the reward at the end of the road, but the ground we walk on as we take the next step. If tonight brought you a little ease, you might notice how precious that ease feels. Like the first warm day after a long winter, like a quiet morning before the world wakes up. It does not need to last forever to matter. It only needs to be real. The Buddha never asked us to hold on to peaceful moments. He asked us to recognize them. Recognition plants a seed. Tomorrow or another night, when restlessness returns, as it sometimes will, the heart will remember this feeling. It will remember that there is another way to meet the night, a way that does not involve fighting or fixing. This remembering is the true practice, not perfection, not constant calm, just remembering to return. You may notice this return happening naturally in small ways. A pause before reacting, a gentler tone with someone you love, a moment of kindness toward yourself when things feel overwhelming. These moments are not separate from the path. They are the path. The Buddha taught that a single wholesome thought can shift the direction of a day. A single gentle breath can soften a difficult hour. Nothing is wasted. Even the nights that feel restless teach us where we are still holding too tightly. And the nights that feel lighter show us what is possible. If you are listening from America, perhaps far from where you grew up, perhaps carrying responsibilities that few people know this, you are not alone on this path. Countless people sit quietly at night, just like you learning how to rest a little more deeply in a world that rarely slows down. This shared effort, this shared intention to live with more kindness is powerful. It creates connection across distance, across culture, across time. The Buddha taught that when even one person chooses awareness over reactivity, the world becomes slightly more peaceful. That matters. If this space has been helpful to you tonight, you might gently carry it forward, not as a task, not as an obligation, but as a refuge you know how to return to. You may come back to these words on another evening. You may share this practice with someone who is struggling to rest. You may simply remember in a difficult moment that you do not have to carry everything alone. These are all ways the teaching continues. There is no pressure to do more. The Buddha taught that the path unfolds naturally when it is walked with patience and trust. So tonight, let yourself rest in what has already been offered. Let the body sink. Let the breath find its own rhythm. If sleep comes, welcome it gently. If it does not rest in the calm that is here now, both are forms of peace. As the night deepens, you might imagine a soft bell sounding in the distance, not loud, not calling you anywhere, just marking a moment of stillness. That stillness lives within you. You can return to it whenever the world feels too loud, whenever the mind feels too full. Nothing about this practice belongs only to tonight. It belongs to you. If your heart feels moved to stay connected, you are always welcome to return here, to listen again, to walk this gentle path step by step. There is no rush. The Buddha taught that awakening is not a destination. It is a way of meeting life. And tonight, you met life with kindness. That is enough. May your rest be deep. May your heart feel supported. May you wake with a little more ease than you carried into the night. And if tomorrow brings challenges, may you remember this moment, this softness, and know that peace is never as far away as it seems. For now, let the night hold you. Nothing more is required. Good night.